the next time we see him, he's with the Russians. And you're in an industrial kitchen, in a freezer, frozen like a board.
Yeah.
And there's a story there. Your poor eyes.
They haul me out and they put me on the industrial kitchen table. And this was a huge kitchen for one of the major exposition sites for Expo 86 that we had here in Vancouver. And they still did a lot of convention stuff in this particular place. So it was a huge working kitchen. So they threw me up underneath the warming up onto the warming counter with the infrared lights. There was, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 hanging above me where, the meal's cooked and they throw it out there and keep it warm till the waiter comes in to grab them and take them away. And I'd been frozen with my eyes open, so I was covered all over with, they spritzed me all over with warm wax and then let it dry, and so it looked like ice and frost, and then they snowed it and did all this stuff. So I'm laying there, and they're thawing me out underneath there, and eventually I thaw out. And
just the eyes. It's the creepiest scene.
And then I sit up and I start to walk around in funny ways, and O'Neill pulls out his gun and says, Maybourne, stop this. And I turn around and I walk past him again, and I get so far, and he says, stop or I'll shoot. And Teal'c is standing down there towards the end, and suddenly I stop and do a freeze and then fall onto my knees and I vomit. And then I stand up and I realize that the vomit is the stuff that is
the entity
alive, but it's also the bad thing. So I grab O'Neill and I throw him into the freezer, and Teal'c gets the stuff, and then it all continues. And I eventually end up in jail. To be hung for treason.
Right.
So later in the day, as we continue to film, my eyes start to kind of fog over, and they feel kind of odd, and things are getting blurry, and not extremely so, but enough for me to start to worry about it a bit. So I went to the first aid person, and she looked and she said, oh, no, I look fine. And they give me some eye drops and stuff. And during the day, they got a tad better. And it wasn't until when I got home, and they were still foggy and weird. And I went, oh, my God, I was lying there underneath these infrared lamps and got my eyeballs cooked. So they had obviously done something to part of the eyes.
How long did it take to clear up?
It was only 2 or 3 days or 4 days.
Still, how scary, you know?
Yeah, for someone in the community of Stargate that have all this knowledge, no one knew I was eyeballs cooked.
Yeah, exactly. No. In the very next episode, we see him on death row. And Jack goes in and says, hey, we need your help here. He's like, all right, I'll help you. Get me out of here. Give me one of those nice, pretty presidential pardons. That great exchange, the Starsky and Hutch, which I think I remember correctly, you said that was an ad-lib from Rick with Ronnie Cox. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us that story. It's a great story.
Well, it was actually his wife was at the door. She came to the door first, and they wanted to talk to the senator. And she says, well, who's calling? And he said, I'll just tell him it's Starsky and Hutch or whatever. And I looked at him, and
this is not in the script.
It's not in the script. And I look at him, and then he goes, he's Starsky, I'm Hutch. He looks at me, gives me a look like, huh? And then he goes, he's Starsky, I'm Hutch. And I'm going to stand there and just go, yeah. And she says, I'll be right back. And she closes the door. And I go, you bastard.
It's like he wanted to throw stuff at you just to watch you dance, in the heat of the moment.
Well, I do think, and that wasn't the only time that he would change something up. Um, and I was told that he really enjoyed working with me, and I certainly enjoyed working with him. So much so, especially in the later part of stuff. But even before that, the back and forth stuff was fun too. But I think he used to throw those things there just to see my face, just to see this absolute fear in my face as I had to work my way through it and continue. And I think he got a lot of joy out of that.
Absolutely. There's chemistry there that is just there's an odd couple chemistry that is just undeniable, and I think it's one of the reasons the reason that they kept on having you back was because it worked. You know, they would put you guys in situations where you had to work your way out, and it was hysterical for us as audience members to watch these two people who don't really like each other all that much, but they recognize the utility in each other. That, all right, here we go. I got to get back together with Maybourne and pull this thing off because he's the only one who can get me out. You know, was just hilarious.
Yeah, I totally enjoyed that, man. Yeah.
Paradise Lost. Fishing with C4. One of my favorite scenes. It's just wrong on so many levels.
Well, even looking at how I manipulated everyone to get through the gate and him jumping up
with the hot dogs and lighting the gate coordinates on fire.
Yeah, and actually taking out Carter with that thing, you know, like ooh.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we were, just the two of us in the middle of apparently nowhere, looking for this place that ultimately has been decaying for hundreds of years. It didn't really exist, or didn't still exist. And having very little to eat, we did find a certain vegetable there that we could eat, which ultimately in the episode drives us both a little crazy. But at one point, when we're sort of only, well, I don't know, I think we were starting to get a little crazy. I've been off somewhere on my own after an argument or something, and Jack's
been eating more fish than you have, so you've been getting much more of the compound than he has, just to set up people who haven't seen the story in a while.
So Neal's down fishing, and so I walked down and asked him how he's doing. He says a couple of nibbles, not much. And so I reach into my pocket and pull out something and look down at it and take it and throw it into the water. And there's an explosion. And all these fish come to the top. And he just gives me this look like, what? And I walk, I'm instructed to walk in, the cameras are all around, walk into the water, and I'm supposed to take fish and bring the fish back. But there were so many fish that I just started, I'd grab a fish and then I'd throw it at him. And I just kept throwing fish at him. And he was jumping around. God, it was fun. Those kind of times were great when you could just jump a little bit off the script, and it was fun.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.